All right, now joined by Peter Coffin and Angie Speaks from the Low Society podcast. Angie, you're telling me that that you're now in like super lockdown in the UK.
Yeah, so lockdown to Electric Boogaloo, it happened at the beginning of the month. And yeah, everything is shut down again, and there's sort of because there are tiers to it. So we're in tier 3 now, and everything's shut down. Pubs, restaurants, like they're advising people to stay at home. So that's what I've been doing, is just like at home, bored, grinding.
Fair enough. Have you been, Peter?
Oh, I've been good. I'm, just kind of. I finally finished a rough draft of the script I've been working on for about 2 months, so I'm starting to feel like I'm getting near an actual project, which is nice.
Nice. Right. Is it the one about Zoom fatigue?
Yes, it's the Zoom fatigue one. I finally got it to a point where I think that it says everything I intended to say. Now it's a matter of making it look like, or making it sound like something somebody would actually want to hear.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't. Jesus. Well, anyway, I'll be interested to see that. I'm definitely experiencing the phenomenon.
Yeah, it's a thing. It is a serious thing.
Yeah, no, I mean that's like 5 times a day. There's some kind of. I don't. I miss seeing people. I mean, I like people. Like people that I'm not like related or married to. Like that's.
No joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. It is pretty intense because it does feel like life has just like gotten smaller and like smaller, and so much of that sort of alienated libidinal energy gets poured into the internet now. That's like the sort of the way that everyone's kind of dealing with the lack of outlet for their drives. So yeah, the dystopia is here. The neoliberal dystopia.
It's the neoliberal utopia. It's the
utopia.
The actual eventual plan. That's what I've been saying a lot. It is a dystopia, to be frank, but it is the end game. We're in the end game of neoliberalism. This is what everybody wanted.
Everybody's just home, on Zoom, pursuing their various gig economy hustles.
You completely atomized, alienated.
Can't talk to each other, and get like actually do anything like like go to protests or or anything like that. So yeah, this would be like this is kind of the amazing culmination of everything of that.
They weren't able to fully end history without a pandemic. The pandemic finally ended history for them.
Yeah.
I don't know if this take is like slightly like racial, and it's not meant to be. But when it came into my head, I felt like it was racial, which is why I didn't say it. But I feel like Andrew Yang is like the new Fukuyama, and not for racial reasons, definitely not. More because of like ideological reasons, because I feel like his proposal of UBI was sort of a way of trying to reify this sort of mode. It wasn't in terms of trying to redress any real issues. It was sort of a thing that sort of traps you in a bubble in a similar way that this pandemic sort of traps you in a bubble in that regard. It's sort of
except we didn't get the UBI.
It's sort of an acceleration of the end of history.
Unemployment benefits continued, it looks like, but never mind a UBI.
No.
But yeah, no, I mean that is right though. Like, I always thought like if you accept like the basic premise of Yangism that the robots are coming for all the jobs, and and like there's just going to be this long-term mass technological unemployment, which who knows, right? Maybe that's true and maybe it's not. There are people like people have been making predictions like that for a very long time, but whatever. Like that's like the new like technology is changing in new ways. Who knows? I'm agnostic about that. But like, if you do accept that premise, then this is, I mean, like, okay, one, like that would actually be a like much better case for socialism, right? Because if you have, like if people can't work for a living anymore, like that's a utopia if we all collectively own the machine, so we can just like enjoy the results, together and not worry about it and just pursue whatever projects you want to pursue in your life. But it's a crazy dystopia if you go with the Yang model, where the machines stay in private hands, and so they only enrich the few people who own them. But then like the rest of us, it's like, I know this is like a pretentious metaphor, but like I always think about like anybody who's ever listened to that Mike Duncan History of Rome podcast, like the late Roman Republic, when basically big landowners bought up so much land that had been small farms. The people who had been small farmers were all living in Rome, without work, and so they ended up instituting this bread ration just to keep people alive, so they wouldn't be rioting. I think, yeah, that's basically what Yang bucks would be, right? Is that Roman?
No joke.
It kind of reminds me of that. I don't know if you've heard of it. It was like this experiment that was done with rats, where they sort of tried to create like a rat utopia, where they basically gave the rats like basic resources, all the basic resources that they would need to survive, and created a sort of city for them and stuff. And eventually all of the social bonds broke down. Like mothers stopped taking care of their offspring. They stopped mating. There was mass violence. Like the entire society sort of broke down. And this experiment was sort of a bludgeon that was used by right-wing intellectuals to sort of say, here's the reason why socialism doesn't work. But really and truly, the rats weren't actually given any sort of aim for the alienated time that they weren't given any sort of purpose. And the fulfillment of their material needs didn't sort of give rise to any other use for their energy and their libidinal sort of drives. And I feel like that's
the rats.
Huh?
I mean, the rats. They're
Yeah,
not gonna they're not gonna invent some new fucking amazing thing. I mean, they're gonna eat cheese and have high voices in cartoons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But even then, I mean, this sort of the sort of Yangian or sort of Fukuyama-ist kind of thing is that our material needs being met, us being in these cozy little bubbles, is really all we need, and there aren't any other higher needs that need to be satisfied in that regard. And I feel like we have to sort of pay attention to that sort of thing as people who are quote unquote materially minded in terms of our politics. Is the material needs being met isn't all there is to it in terms of having a functioning society, because a lot of people are comfortable in this status quo materially, as in they have the things they need, but there's a massive spiritual poverty to existing in this kind of way as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, which is not necessarily like, I mean, I've always thought like, look, we could have, like, I mean, I guess I think like that would just be like a better problem to have, right? Like I would
definitely,
I would rather have like, like if people are going to commit suicide, I'd rather they be committed suicide because of like, they're having existential crises, than because of like the horrible shit actually, happening to them because of the way society is set up. Like if like one thing I've always thought is if we actually did get like, whatever fully automated luxury, added a bunch of adjectives like people like to communism, then probably like, most of the sources of unhappiness, like a lot of the sources of unhappiness that we have now wouldn't exist, but like you probably like you'd have some new ones because for example, like everybody who like always wanted to like have a band or write a novel or do any of those things would actually have, like the free time to do those things. And realistically, like lots of people are going to be really bad at it, right? And like, so they might be like very unsatisfied because of those things. And, and of course you'll have all the, like,
not to mention the racket everywhere. No matter where you go, everyone has a band and they're all bad.
It's not even necessarily about aptitude or achieving some kind of accolades or acclaim in a specific field. It's about the fulfillment of engaging in the activity. And I mean, even Marx talks about alienation and the idea of alienated labor and how, that has a deleterious effect on human culture and civilization, also our mental health as well in that capacity. And I feel like a lot of what people are experiencing, like the source of unhappiness, it's not just to do with like alienated time. It's also about like not having things that they feel they're doing that give them a sense of purpose and meaning as well, which I guess falls in the more existential
right.
Kind of,
Like, you know, but I mean, like, I mean, I'll take that as a goal though, like having a society where like everybody can be like, you know, some like rich kid who goes through like a, you know, like they like spend 3 months in an ashram and then they decide they're not getting anything out of that. And, you know, then like they try to write the novel and then they're like, you know, whatever, like, because that's what you can actually do with your time if you're not like spending all of your time worrying about like whether, you know, any of your 12 gig economy gigs, you know, will like get you enough money to make rent this month, and, you know, whether you can afford to buy presents for your children, and, you know, and all that stuff. So I mean, again, it would just be better problems to have. Although two things on the Rat Utopia. So one, shout out to J. Andrew World, who's the graphic designer for the show, who said, Rat Utopia, do you mean South Bend? Which, you know, whatever, that's good enough.
As someone who lives 36 miles from South Bend, I get exactly what that is about.
Yeah. You know, look it up, guys. But anyway,
he's not the mayor anymore.
Oh, he's not.
He's a different person now.
Oh, yeah. All right. I guess
he resigned in order to run for president, actually, and one of his cronies is actually the mayor now.